In the depths of the desert, where the sand crafts enchanting images with the gentle breaths of the calm wind, the Tuareg tribe resides. It is a society where bravery is interwoven with wisdom, kindness, patience and tolerance. However, the power struggles and the legitimacy of authority persist among families, kingdoms and communities. Here, the courageous young boy, Amamma Landalias, grew up with confidence, wisdom and balance. His profound perspective on life made him stand out among his peers in his tribe, just as a shining star stands alone in the clear desert sky, captivating the viewer and guiding travellers with its light. His uncle, the king, was a leader of the tribe, with a sharp mind and a rare cunning. Yet he was consumed with jealousy towards this young man who, with each passing day, became increasingly astute, making him increasingly qualified to lead the tribe. The Tuareg's respect for women meant that if the tribe's ruler died without a suitable heir, the rule would go to his sister's son. Here, the plots against the perceptive young Amamma Landalias began. On a calm morning, the king summoned one of his servants and ordered him to bring severed goat legs, saying, "I want you to go with these legs to a distant valley and leave their tracks on the sand. Beware, let no one see you." He then sent his son and his nephew to the valley to follow the tracks and solve this perplexing riddle. The king's son quickly returned, indicating that the tracks in the valley suggest shepherds had been there. However, for the nephew, thoroughly inspecting the valley and investigating it led him to report, "Yes, the tracks are there, but the goats weren't." The king, quite agitated, asked, "How did you know?" The nephew replied, "Look at the green grass. It remains untouched and uneaten." With this answer, the king was convinced of his nephew's keen analysis and observation skills. However, he decided to conduct another test for the two. He ordered a tribal shepherd to send 2 camels into the embrace of the distant reefs. After the camels left the area, the king sent his son and his nephew to investigate the matter. Upon their return, in the quiet of the night and the whistling of the winds around the wise men's tent, and with the Imzad musical player setting her instrument aside, the son began saying, "I saw the tracks of 2 camels grazing peacefully in those reefs, but I found nothing noteworthy." However, Amamma Landalias, with his astuteness, replied, "The first camel is one-eyed, as the trees are eaten from one side and not the other. As for the second camel, its tail is cut off, which is evident in its dung piled up in clumps with no tail to scatter it." And indeed, the condition of the camels was as Amamma Landalias described. Then the king realized that he had to kill his nephew, the only solution so his son could inherit the rule. But the tribe's criteria for a ruler requiring intelligence, wisdom, patience and fairness would not allow a man who killed his cousin to rule them. So how could the king eliminate Amamma Landalias without leaving any trace of the crime? The uncle sent Amamma Landalias on a pastoral trip with a group of shepherds. During the journey, Amamma Landalias noticed one of the skilled arrow shooters watching him closely. He identified the perfect spot for his assassination along their route, but remained calm and prepared his plan for survival. Near a narrow passage between mountains, he shielded himself between his camel on the opposite side from the shooter rather than from above. He also placed a decoy on the camel to make it seem that someone was riding it. So Amamma Landalias escaped death's jaws. He returned to his uncle, carrying a secret in his heart that he shared with no one. A mere look was enough to rebuke his uncle for his malice. Amamma Landalias' love for his family, tribe and land drove him to overcome grudges, focusing on strategic, peaceful solutions instead of violence, achieving his repeated victories with all alertness and cunning. Days passed like a gentle breeze, despite multiple assassination plots, and the wise young Amamma Landalias expressed his desire to marry his uncle's daughter, a beauty shining with her wisdom. Her father, however, had one last idea to get rid of his nephew. He set the bride's dowry as the head of a fierce, eternal lion, living in a distant valley. Legends spoke of the death of anyone who dared approach it, and he had to present it before sunset on a predetermined date. Amamma Landalias accepted the challenge, accompanied by 2 knights who were suitors of the princess. The king provided the knights with 2 of the finest horses and combat equipment, while neglecting his nephew, giving him a slow-moving mule. When the knights reached the valley, they were shocked to find the lion dead without a head. So they decided to deceive the king, claiming they had killed the lion together. But with the setting sun, just as hopes of Amamma Landalias' return dwindled, the gallant hero appeared, smiling with a lion's head as proof of his victory and bravery. The king then realized he had no choice but to marry his daughter to this intelligent, loving, patient and courageous young man, for the people loved him and saw him as a wise and just leader. This was the tribe's real victory, the triumph of wisdom and insight over brute strength.